Hey everybody, NG5 here, and I tried live streaming a couple minutes ago, but the YouTube live stream thing was having trouble connecting, so here I am again, and as the name implies, this is a Disney live stream. Now, why am I doing a Disney live stream? Well, today, I'm heading to Disneyland. You don't know how happy I am to finally be going back to the happiest place on earth. I know that in recent news there's been some controversy, but I want to talk about that controversy, what Disney means to me, and a couple other things I wanted to talk about in a previous live stream that I deleted, which was called the random live stream. So let's get into it. So Disneyland to me, I might have talked about this once before, but growing up about an hour south of the park means a lot to me. I can vividly remember the first time going to the park. um, my parents took me, and basically we went to the haunted mansion, and this was like, I think, before some of the more sophisticated special effects happened. So this was 1998, and I could literally remember almost peeing my pants in the stretching room because it was so scary. I was just like, "Mommy, this is scary." And then the moment I get out of the mansion, the moment I get out through the crypt, I'm crying, and all of a sudden I just stop, and I'm like, "Hey, Mom, can we go again?" And my parents look at me like, "Are you sure you're okay?" Oops. And my phone fell completely over because I took a hard turn. Don't worry, I'll grab it. If you heard that, that's all that's happened. Give me a second to stop what I'm doing, and I'll grab the phone. Sorry. Yeah, I've got my phone in a certain spot in my car, and the good thing is the camera isn't on, so I'm doing an audio bit. But give me a second. That's what happens when you armor roll it. Ugh, there we go. Take two. Anyway, all right, let's try this again. So back to the whole live stream bit, and again, if anyone sees this and they hear like this sliding noise and a crash, it's because my phone basically went from one side to the other, and yeah, it didn't. It basically just fell. Anyway, so back to the whole Disney bit. I can also remember going back to the park in 2001. I was 8, and I do remember actually the whole Haunted Mansion holiday bit, and I remember the original soundtrack because oddly enough, I had a dream a couple days later, and the end bit where the crypt is, where nowadays it's Oogie Boogie and he's got the present roulette or whatever. Back in the day, it just used to be a kind of like a stock image, or like a moving stock image, I guess you could say, of Lock, Shock, and Barrel, kind of greeting you or whatever. But I had a dream once when I went home. I was 8, but I got home once in my dream, and in the main window was that same thing, Lock, Shock, and Barrel. I'm like, what? Oh, thanks, Dreamboy11. Let other people know that I'm doing a live stream. I'd appreciate a little bigger audience. And I know there are all two of you are here, so let people know that I'm live streaming. So, continuing on, um, I can remember when the Disneyland Railroad had its old school, what's the word I'm looking for? Old school audio, that's it. I think it might have been Thurl Ravenscroft who actually did the onboard audio for the Disneyland Railroad, which is pretty nifty. Hi, Joe Boss, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome. The Disneyland Railroad. It's for those that haven't been yet. It's a narrow gauge track that goes around the whole park, and it's a 3/4 mile round trip. And here's the fun bit: three of the 5 locomotives that Disneyland Railroad owns are actually built by Baldwin, the Baldwin Locomotive Works, which I think is actually pretty nifty. The other 2 were actually built by Walt Disney Imagineering with, I think, the help of Baldwin. Um, So that's really cool, seeing something like that, or hearing something like that, rather. And to make it a little more complete, at the opening day of Disneyland back in 1955, um, the Santa Fe, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad actually sponsored the Disneyland Railroad from 1955 until 1974, which honestly is pretty cool. I won't lie. Let's see what else. What else to talk about? Um, man, well, I can say this because of the fact that COVID pretty much ruined everything for everyone. Um, it has been, and I've counted, 423 days since the last time I either was at Disneyland or uploaded a video regarding Disneyland. Thanks, COVID. Piece of shit. I'm sorry. Um, I understand now that Disney. I'm glad Disneyland is reopened, and there are the COVID regulations and all, and I'm fine with abiding by them. Now things are a little different, but I still see there's going to be some magic to be had no matter what. In terms of back to the park, I've been to Disneyland, California. Gosh, no, I don't know how many times I've been, but I've actually lost count of how many times I've been. I've probably gone over, at least I'm guessing at least in the triple digits, maybe even, yeah, at least the triple digits. In the time, in the 28 years I've been on God's good earth. I've only been to one other park, and that was actually one of the first videos I made back all the way back in 2011. Time really does fly. That was Disneyland Paris. I only got like one video of it. Now that I think about it, I only have one video to that park on my channel, and that was me wandering through the queue line at Indiana Jones. The Indiana Jones ride out there is significantly different compared to the one here. Instead of a ride that reacts to the Disneyland Paris version of Indiana Jones, is a mine cart that actually has a loop-de-loop, which is pretty cool in my opinion. I can remember riding that the first time when I was out in France, and I was sitting with a few other people, and when they went through the loop, they started crying, and I look at them, and I'm like, is this your first time on a thrill roller coaster? And then, like, in broken English, they were like, yes, it was. It's crazy. I'm like, believe me, you're going to have some fun here then. And the one person that's watching, please let other people know that I'm really thrilled to be going back. In terms of personal favorites and least favorites, I don't have a ride in my mind per se that's bad at Disneyland, because they all have their pluses and their minuses. So at Disneyland, I would say Space Mountain, the Haunted Mansion, Smuggler's Run, Rise of the Resistance, and Pirates of the Caribbean are my top five. Those are like the five best. Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance are those two brand new Star Wars attractions, which I believe opened up in 2017. I could be wrong. But yeah, they opened up a couple years ago. And my God, the Rise of Resistance ride, holy cow, that was awesome. It was an amalgam of a couple of different style rides. You had a walkthrough bit, kind of. You have a walkthrough, ride-through kind of aspect, like the Haunted Mansion, where you walk through one point, then you jump into a vehicle, and then you have like a free, like a trackless ride, which is honestly really sweet. And you even incorporate a drop element to it, and like a simulation. It is like, I think it's like 4 or 5 different rides combined, which is so cool. And the trackless ride isn't new to Disney. But I've read and seen that over in Hong Kong Disneyland, They have a ride called Mystic Manor, and Mystic Manor is Hong Kong's equivalent of the Haunted Mansion, because words. I'm sorry. Chinese culture considers ghosts as avoidable. Like, you don't want to be anywhere near them because they can cause all kinds of problems. So they basically made it to where something else makes everything kind of happen, which is honestly a neat kind of workaround. But the new version of the Doom Buggy utilizes a trackless ride system. Like, there's an onboard computer thing, I think. Yeah, there's an onboard navigation, I think, that Disney created, and that's what's really made Mystic Manor and in turn Rise of the Resistance really interesting. Smuggler's Run is, if anyone's seen any of the Star Wars movies and they've seen the Millennium Falcon prior to when the ride opened, you're probably thinking, damn it, why can't I drive that awesome piece of junk, And then Smuggler's Run comes up, and we all know Han Solo got offed by his own son, which is, sad and also a little bit aggravating. But Smuggler's Run is honestly really fun because there's like 6 people that can sit in the little cockpit area, and you have the pilot, the gunner, and the engineer. And speaking from someone that's done all 3, I can tell you, pilot is probably the hardest one to do. Moving left and right is simple, but remember, you have to push forward on the right. If you're the right pilot, there's the left seat pilot and the right seat pilot. Left does left and right, and that's pretty simple. If you're the right pilot, you have to push forward to move the Falcon down and pull up to make it fly up. It's a little like a flight simulator for the pilots. And I can agree, and I can say this, if you ever go to Disneyland or Walt Disney World and you do that ride, think of it as a really cool flight simulator that Disney decided to make. It'll take a little getting used to, but after a while, you'll get the hang of it. The other 2 are gunners, and gunners are the push all the buttons kind of thinking, where the moment a button lights up, boom, push it, you're done. That's really all you have to do with the gunner is push all the buttons. The engineers actually have a little bit of intermediate, but you have to constantly keep the Falcon in check. Otherwise, I think there's like a fail-safe mechanism that basically, I haven't seen that fail-safe. I don't even know if that fail-safe thing exists on that ride. But you're basically playing. It's an attraction, but it's a really fun simulator ride. It's an interactive simulator, and I really, really like that ride. The Haunted Mansion, obviously, that's like a classic ride, so there's no getting around that. Pirates of the Caribbean, great song and all that, and there's still some real bones in there. Little fact about Pirates, when they first opened, the fake skeletons they were using weren't realistic enough for Disney, so they asked the UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles medical, I think the medical team, if they could use some real skeletons in the ride. And for a while, that's what happened. The real skeletons, they were in the attraction. No one really paid any attention until people were like, holy shit, those are real. They were obviously cleaned up and all that. But after a while, and with technology and whatnot, the real skeletons were given back to the medical team at UCLA, and more realistic skeletons were used. But the only real bones that are still on that ride are on a headboard in the attraction, where there's a pirate looking at a map, and you can see his teeth in the magnifying glass. The headboard behind him is a skull and crossbones. Those are the only real bones in the ride, which I think is pretty cool. Least favorite, though, I would honestly have to say Winnie the Pooh's Honey Hunt. Let's see. Have you ever heard about Disneyland? Yeah, Joe Boss. I've heard those rumors of certain Disney attractions being haunted. it makes sense. But back to what I was gonna say, and I'll address that comment in a second. So Disney, Winnie the Pooh's Honey Hunt is honestly my least favorite attraction of all of them, because looking at where Critter Country is, Critter Country's kind of like, and I don't mean it, if anyone likes it after they either see this live or if they watch this once the live stream is over, if you like Critter Country at Disneyland in California, that's fine. It's honestly my stupid opinion. To me, it doesn't really have a belonging there. It's almost like the New Orleans Square. Um, New Orleans Square was built with Walt Disney in mind, and it was the only area to be unveiled while Walt Disney was alive. Critter Country kind of was like, it was like a vacant land almost. And Disney's like, how can we make use of this? Oh, I know. And then they just threw Critter Country together. It's one thing if Mickey's Toontown is put together. Like, obviously, that's a great place. But Critter Country just kind of felt haphazardly put together. I'm guessing with the fact that, but back to Winnie the Pooh's Honey Hunt. It's a ride involving Winnie the Pooh, but it like has no real purpose. That's not to say the ride is bad. I mean, there's some great audio animatronics and the visuals are honestly really cool. But at the same time, it just feels, Critter Country just feels out of place. That's not to say that Splash Mountain is good. I mean, I love the Zippity Doo-Dah song. I love that song to death. I would sing for like Uncle Remus, but then again, I don't want to accidentally anger anybody. But just that song, Zippity Doo-Dah, Zippity, it always puts a smile on my face. But again, Winnie the Pooh's Honey Hunt, while it does have some decent, features and all that, I couldn't get into it. And it's also the site of the former Country Bear Jamboree, which I think is what Critter Country was somewhat based on. And it just doesn't really hold a candle anymore, the Critter Country. What else to talk about? Oh yeah, Disney Genie. Now, I'm sure majority of my viewers might have seen the movie Aladdin, or the sequel, or the third installment, or even the live-action remake. Yeah, there were three animated Aladdin movies. And a side note, Robin Williams voiced the genie in the first and third movie, whereas the guy who voiced Homer Simpson, it was like, I can't remember his name, but it was like Dan something. Someone let me know in the comments who Homer Simpson's voice actor is. But yeah, the voice actor for Homer Simpson actually did a fairly decent job as Genie in the second movie, which I think was Return of Jafar, I think. Again, I'm not really familiar with like those direct-to-video sequel movies, like Aladdin 2 or Aladdin 3, so to speak. And another side note, that technically means that those stupid bootleg NES game, consoles or whatever, they technically have the title right of Aladdin 3, but of course those NES games are garbage. Disney Genie, for those that don't know, is an upcoming pay-to-ride system. Now, what does that all mean? When Disney first announced this, a couple weeks ago, actually, a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, what is happening?" And to be fair, we should have seen this coming, because this was basically putting the concept all the way back in 2019. Disney is the last of the major theme parks, to my knowledge, that always had like free fast passes. And with Disney now jumping onto the whole pay to ride bit, a lot of people were like, is it paid for every ride, or what's going on? I did a little research, and as it turns out, no, you don't have to pay X amount of money for each ride. That would honestly be really dumb. So the whole idea of Genie is it's following in the footsteps of other major theme parks, where you pay a certain amount of money to get basically an unlimited fast pass. Fast pass. I know that's a hard word to say, but when I did some more again, I did research on this, and lo and behold, Disney is actually the cheapest when it comes to paid fast passes. You want an example? Okay. Walt Disney World is $15 a day. Disneyland is $20 a day. You want to know how much Knott's Berry Farm pays? $89. I'm not kidding. $89 a day to basically ride different style roller coasters. Sure, you got your high speed ones, and then you got your kid ones, but $90 a day for that? Really? That's a bit much. Six Flags Magic Mountain, which I believe is out in Ventura, California. I've only been there maybe 3 times, maybe 4. I can't remember. But $55. You see where I'm coming from? Sure, I understand from a viewpoint of a family that put together a big vacation and it costs, 4 digits. Like it's a little over $1,000. If you were to stay 7 days, excluding food, you're adding an extra 140. And to me, that is going to be a little dent in the wallet, but it's nothing compared to the others. The only major theme park that I know of that hasn't implemented this yet, because of I'll explain it in a minute. It's Legoland. Legoland has not implemented this pay to ride system, mainly because it suffers from what I call a demographic crutch. Now, what is a demographic? And I guess by some degree, Knott's Berry Farm, even though Knott's Berry Farm is like a one park, but it's still a pretty major theme park for California. But basically, like the big major theme parks, they all have something that everyone can enjoy. Take obviously Disney. Disney has something for the kid that's 2 years old or 92 years old. There's a little bit of everything for everyone at Disneyland. Legoland, on the other hand, has a demographic of 2-year-olds to possibly 13-year-olds. So yeah, that is a big problem for Lego. Not saying that Lego's bad. Legoland has some pretty fun rides. I won't lie. But if they want to get in more people, they're gonna have to start expanding and bringing in like a little bit better demographic, like people that make Lego, sculptures and all that stuff. I don't know. But what I'm getting at is the I didn't want to deviate too much, but what I'm getting at is while Disney Genie may be getting flack right now, it's honestly the cheapest of a pay-to-ride system. $20 a day here in California, sure, that's a little bit. That's at the very least a tiny bit pricey. But if you get a basically unlimited fast pass, that's cool. One thing too is that there's 2 tiers essentially. You can get Disney Genie or Disney Genie Plus, and I'm probably gonna get the Disney Genie Plus app or whatever. Yeah, it's a complimentary app apparently, which is okay. If it's complimentary, it doesn't mean you have to have it, but it's good to have, a backup plan essentially. But if you get like the basic Genie app or something, you can have 2 fast passes at any given time. But they do say you can't really stockpile like more than 2 fast passes if you have the basic, which is not present, I believe, with the Plus. You can have like, I think you can have up to 6 maybe on Disney Genie Plus, but again, give it time because this thing is going to come out in September or October, and I'm not going to knock it. I think it's honestly a decent idea as being someone who also has invested in the stock market in the company. This is another way that they can recover from the COVID-19. And I know so many people are like, oh, but they can find other ways to do it. But this isn't one way to recover from COVID. Everyone's trying new tactics, new ploys to basically, recover from this global epidemic. I refuse to say pandemic because in my mind that sounds like a weird offhand bread company. But yeah, COVID basically has messed everything up. So Disney Genie, I know people are gonna say it's good, it's bad, it's meh, but roll with it. It's not the end of the world. Let's see what else to talk about. I'm probably gonna end the live stream here in a little bit. Um, what else can I say? Oh, I might have mentioned this in a previous live stream, and I've lost track of how many I've done. Um, Comparing Disneyland California to Disneyland Paris, I would have to say in some cases one outshines the other. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at the classic, one of the classic rides, the Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion at Disneyland has like a very nice, clean exterior to it, whereas Phantom Manor is purposely falling apart, really weathered. It just looks like, it looks like it's falling apart at the seams. That was an intentional design done by Disney Imagineers because Phantom Manor was actually incorporated into Frontierland in Disneyland Paris, and with all the gold that the Ravenswood family was getting, yeah, I'll explain that in a minute. With all the gold, they're able to keep up the house, but once the gold dried up and an earthquake hit in 1860, everything just fell apart. And the Ravenswood family, it's Henry, Martha, and Melaine. Melaine, that was the daughter. What Phantom Manor is, it's a revived version of a supernatural wedding that was going to take place but never did, while also keeping the whole 999 Happy Haunts bit together, which I honestly think is really cool. In a recent, and Disney has since done a renovation of that ride, and my gosh, is it awesome! What was funny though is that in the ballroom scene of Phantom Manor, they used the original Haunted Mansion audio, and while some people are like, it's kind of quirky, they're like, come on, you go from a super dramatic soundtrack to da 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 da, and people are like, the fuck. So it's like it was a silly move on Disney's part, and thankfully they were able to put the original audio back. But what made it interesting for that 2019 rework is they were able to, because they had Vincent Price's narration on standby, they mixed it in with both English and French ghost host narration, which is honestly kind of cool. I know I've been saying cool a lot, but forgive me. In the reworked version, though, Melaine Ravenswood actually goes insane at the end, and now wants pretty much anyone to marry her. But she's been able to get everyone out of the house. But she's like, "Please marry me," or in the words of PewDiePie, "No, just me, senpai." Sorry about that. But in terms of that, there's just so much about Disney I could keep talking about, but I don't want to ramble. I'll probably try doing some more videos of distance meet and greets because of COVID. You can still meet with characters, but you have to keep a certain amount of distance. It's again a safety thing. And I don't know how the rides will work, but hey, I'm looking forward to going to the ride. One last thing I do want to say about Disney before I go on a little bit of a ramble about other things is, let's see, the Haunted Mansion movie. The Haunted Mansion movie, for some that might have seen it, it came out in 2003, but as kind of mediocre as it was again kind of doing what Phantom Manor did about a supernatural wedding. But in this case, it was like the ghosts like Edward Gracie and Ramsley. They think that this lady named Sarah Evers is Gracie's former bride reincarnated, and it's a decent ride. But again, it's one of those movies that Disney did based on an attraction, and it all depends on how well it's faithfully recreated. And honestly, I saw Jungle Cruise. That made the Haunted Mansion look like a masterpiece. Um, I read the reviews on Jungle Cruise, and while Dwayne Johnson does a good job in that movie, like the actors did a good job, CG wise, it looks really impressive. That movie it didn't really have the same charm as the attraction. Like the Jungle Cruise is all about like witty, stupid puns that they fall into the so bad it's good territory. But in this case, it didn't work out. I mean, it's an expedition thing, but at the same time, when you don't have those like stupidly bad puns, it kind of loses its charm. Okay, that's enough about Disney for now. I'll make more videos and maybe one or two more live streams when I get there. But real quick, what I was talking about in a random live stream, and I don't like turning it from something fun in my live stream to something kind of, something I don't like talking about, but it is worth noting. Mason Hagen. I'm not going to mention him. Excuse me. I'm not going to talk about him too much, but he's being unapologetic for what he's been doing. And what's the reason? He wants voice acting roles. Well, acting like a potentially mentally deranged psychopath is not going to garner you a role, pal. It really is. It is not going to get you a role in the slightest. And yet this guy's like, oh, I know I'm going to get a role. And, I know Mr. Merlin fan 02 left, but I'm thinking of doing something to kind of rub it in Mason's face. To say that, hey, if you ask politely, you'll get your role. So, I'm just thinking about that. Kind of show Mason that if you act like that, you're not going to get anywhere. But yeah, if you know Mason, it's basically been reported that he is acting the way he is because he isn't getting voice acting roles. And it's just disgusting. But I don't want to talk about Mason anymore. I want to move on to a couple other things. For example, Broadway Limited Imports, a model railroading company that I know works in O scale, but also HO. No, sorry. I know they work HO scale for sure, and I think they also work N scale. I'm not sure about O scale, but they've released the Union Pacific FEF class on Paragon 4, no less. And honestly, I always wondered when are they going to do a Paragon 4? Well, now they have. They've had all kinds of awesome new locomotives to boot. The FEF looks really nice, and I'm really hoping I get one for Christmas. But anyway, what else? Oh yeah, I might as well say this. I'm starting a full-time job starting Thursday. I'm not going to say where, but I won't be able to do model railroad videos like I used to, unless I get a Saturday off or maybe an afternoon shift, maybe. But again, I'm not going to say where I'm working. It's just I'm working full time now, starting this Thursday, and what I'll do to kind of compensate for model railroad videos is I'll try to get a home layout going. That way you can see some of the engines that I have in my videos and all that stuff. But other than that, I've kind of run out of things to say for two reasons. One, I'm just trying to focus on what I'm going to meet up with a couple of friends there. And two, my my mouth is getting a little bit dry. I think it's just I've been talking for over a half an hour. I'm just like, I don't have anything to drink. I don't have a water. I don't have a coffee or soda or juice next to me. So I'm just like, I'm running on fumes here. It's not fun. But once I get to Disneyland, I'll probably do another StreamYard because again, I tried doing it with YouTube and I kept getting disconnected. I don't know why. Might have just been like spotty internet connection or something like that. But um, you can expect a little more today because I am really stoked about today. Going to Disneyland, gonna have some fun. I'm with some friends I haven't met in a couple years. So yeah, this is NG5. I will see you soon. Have a good one. Stay tuned.